Chapter 1361. You search yours, I'll search mine. The soul attack didn't do much damage, but was extremely insulting. The yellow sand night demon unhesitatingly turned direction, charging towards Lin Moyu. That powerful, violent aura locked onto him again. Lin Moyu began retreating rapidly. The black sand demon king clearly relaxed, quickly catching up, ready to act at any moment. The first cooperation is always the hardest. Once they get through it smoothly, it will only get easier and more coordinated afterwards. Lin Moyu understood why the Xiaoming Buddha required them to work in pairs now. Facing the leader-level Yellow Sand Night Demon in the Yellow Sand Lake, one person alone simply couldn't hold it off. They could only use this roundabout method to stall it for now. But this method couldn't be dragged out too long either. The attacks would grow stronger each time, eventually reaching a limit. So 1 hour was a reasonable time frame. 10-odd seconds later, the Yellow Sand Night Demon closed in on Lin Moyu again. The Black Sand Demon King acted in time. His attack was a few degrees stronger than before, successfully drawing the Yellow Sand Night Demon's attention again. The two of them pulled the Yellow Sand Night Demon back and forth like letting out a kite, playing an extreme game of tug-of-war. Time ticked by bit by bit. In the extreme tug-of-war, 1 hour passed. The two unhesitatingly charged out of the lake, the Yellow Sand Night Demon giving chase. It locked firmly onto Lin Moyu, its huge eyes filled with hatred. Lin Moyu felt a bit helpless. It was because the intensity of his soul attack was too high towards the end. The Black Sand Demon King often had to attack 2 or 3 times before the Yellow Sand Night Demon would switch targets. Lin Moyu burst out of the lake water at top speed, kicking up a 100-meter water column. Whoosh! Following behind him, the Yellow Sand Night Demon's massive body also burst out. It gripped its long spear tightly, launching an attack at Lin Moyu in midair. The huge spear phantasm shot out, as if to tear him into shreds. Lin Moyu felt his soul being locked onto. With a shift of his mind, the wings of the undead appeared on his back. The wings of the undead shuddered, breaking the soul lock. Then the flash wizard also manifested on his shoulder. Lin Moyu's body turned into light, instantly traversing thousands of miles to land on the lakeshore. With the soul lock broken, the Yellow Sand Night Demon's strike missed. It let out an enraged roar, then dropped back into the lake waters. The lake churned violently, kicking up waves that took a long time to settle. The Xiaoming Buddha's voice rang out with a hint of approval.
Good moves, Dao friend Lin.
With his strength, he could naturally see what Lin Moyu had just done. Breaking a soul lock was no easy feat for most, especially a demigod's soul lock, even more difficult to break. Yet Lin Moyu had done it with ease. This also meant that if he tried to lock onto Lin Moyu's soul, it would similarly be broken. Lin Moyu's standing in the Xiaoming Buddha's eyes unconsciously rose another level. Lin Moyu sat down on the spot, saying nothing. He looked like he had just gone through a life-or-death ordeal, still shaken. But in fact, Lin Moyu wasn't fazed at all. His every display was calculated to present a certain image. Ever since the job change, he had experienced who knows how many massive battles, seen life and death too many times to count. Most people in the great world were cultivators comprehending the laws. To him, they were like hothouse flowers. He himself had barely any days of bitter cultivation. He had grown primarily through constant battle. The situation just now was child's play to Lin Moyu. Yet he put on an air of still being shaken, having narrowly escaped death, while also demonstrating his ability to sever soul locks. 1. To tell the Xiaoming Buddha that he had this ability, don't underestimate me. 2. To also tell the Xiaoming Buddha that his battle strength was limited, no match for the Yellow Sand Night Demon, don't be too wary of me either. He didn't want to be either too underestimated or too intimidating. This was the effect Lin Moyu wanted, and it seemed he had achieved it now. Lin Moyu's soul was extremely perceptive, far more so than anyone else present. He could sense the changes in their expressions. He controlled the skeletal demon warriors again. In that past hour, the 100 skeletal demon warriors had searched a large area already, without any findings. They were still expanding their search radius. The central lake was immense, able to contain several stars, couldn't be fully searched in a short time. But Lin Moyu wasn't in a hurry. As long as the passage truly existed, he would find it sooner or later. An hour later, it was Lin Moyu and the Black Sand Demon King's turn to search again, while the Xiaoming Buddha and the Erosion Demon King drew the Yellow Sand Night Demon's attention. During his search, Lin Moyu deployed another 100 skeletal demon warriors. Time passed bit by bit, the four of them taking turns searching within the central lake. 3 days later, Lin Moyu had finished searching zones 1 to 8, without any findings. The Xiaoming Buddha and Erosion Demon King had also finished zones 20 to 27, similarly without results. In the most recent search, due to a mistake, the Erosion Demon King was injured. The search had to be paused to allow the Erosion Demon King's injuries to recover before continuing. Over these 3 days, Lin Moyu had seen clearly that the weakest of the four was the Erosion Demon King. Though it had its own unique secret arts, without using them, its strength was a notch below even Jean Huey's. The strongest was naturally the Xiaoming Buddha. Especially that time the Erosion Demon King was injured, the Xiaoming Buddha demonstrated his power. He held off the Yellow Sand Night Demon for over 10 minutes, allowing the Erosion Demon King to escape unharmed. The four were still sitting some distance apart on the yellow sand. There was no day or night in the yellow sand. The fireball in the sky was ever present. Lin Moyu wasn't idle either. He controlled the skeletal demon warriors to search the lake bottom night and day, seeking the passage. Now under the lake, there were already 2,000 skeletal demon warriors. They didn't need rest, nor would they draw monster attacks. They advanced unimpeded with astounding efficiency. In these 3 days, they had finished searching zones 70 to 90, now heading towards even higher numbered zones closer to the core. The higher the number, the closer to the core where the Yellow Sand Night Demon lurked. Lin Moyu wasn't sure if the skeletal warriors would draw its attack. Bosses were different from regular monsters, hard to say for sure. However, Lin Moyu felt that since they hadn't been attacked for 3 days already, the odds were very low. Sure enough, one of the skeletal warriors relayed information. It had spotted the Yellow Sand Night Demon. The Yellow Sand Night Demon dragged its massive body past right over the skeletal warrior's head, completely ignoring its existence. With this, Lin Moyu was greatly relieved. He immediately ordered 100 skeletal warriors to head for the core area, while the rest continued searching along their original routes. Since he had been to the lake bottom before, Lin Moyu had guessed from the start that the real passage might be in the core area. Previously, they had to draw the Yellow Sand Night Demon's attention every hour, so the skeletal warriors couldn't head straight for the core, or they might be discovered by the Xiaoming Buddha. But now, taking advantage of the Erosion Demon King's injury recovery time, Lin Moyu rushed the skeletal warriors to the core area. The Erosion Demon King's injuries were no small matter. It would need at least 3 days to recover. 3 days was enough time to thoroughly search the core area. 1362 Chapter 1362. Good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? The first impression Lin Moyu had of the core area was that the concentration of laws here was astonishingly high. Pure and unadulterated laws of earth and stone, along with a small amount of earth laws, dominated this place. The dense laws converged to the point of being almost visible to the naked eye. It even gave Lin Moyu the illusion that the lake water was materialized from laws. The skeletal warriors quickly moved through the core area, searching for clues. Soon, the skeletons made a discovery, and Lin Moyu connected to their vision. In the gray-white world, Lin Moyu saw the Grand Formation again. In a central area of the lake, the yellow sand disappeared, and the ground became solid, like gold. The formation was complex, mysterious, and difficult to understand. The entire formation was extremely introverted, not emitting a trace of power. Lin Moyu had seen a similar formation at the bottom of the Yellow Sand Lake, and there was no difference between the two. Just as he discovered the formation, it began to operate. Countless yellow sands surged from the lake bottom, converging with the water flow, forming a crystal core at the center of the formation. Lin Moyu had seen this scene before. After the crystal core condensed, it would form a body. Eventually, the soul fire would ignite, turning into a monster with a dog's head and a fish's body. Indeed, more yellow sand gathered, and the laws within the sand erupted, using the formation's power to prepare to condense the monster's body. At this moment, a fierce water current shot out, transforming into a water arrow that struck the crystal core, sending it flying to the side. The yellow sand night demon pounced with its massive body, opening its huge mouth to swallow the crystal core. After devouring the crystal core, the yellow sand night demon showed an extremely satisfied expression, as if it had tasted a rare delicacy. But the enjoyment lasted only 2 seconds before the formation suddenly emitted a stronger light, and many previously unlit runes lit up. A whip formed from laws appeared out of thin air, lashing at the yellow sand night demon like lightning. The yellow sand night demon let out a strange cry, not daring to confront the whip, and turned to flee. However, the whip still struck its body, shattering its scales and tearing its flesh. After one lash, the yellow sand night demon had already fled far away, and the formation returned to calm. Seeing this scene, Lin Moyu couldn't help but say,
Men die for wealth, birds die for food.
no one expected that the formation could not only create a 9th-rank God-King monster but also attack. Even more unexpected was that the yellow sand night demon would come to snatch the crystal core, even at the cost of being injured. Lin Moyu left 2 skeletal warriors by the formation, while the rest continued to search the core area. Soon, more formations were discovered. In the core area, there were a total of 7 formations. 6 of them were identical to the one seen at the bottom of the yellow sand lake, used to create monsters. The other formation was somewhat special. It was not large, but at its center, there was a circular depression, seemingly meant to hold something. This small formation had extremely complex runes carved on it. Just looking at it for a while made Lin Moyu feel dizzy. Lin Moyu dared not look any longer and focused his attention on the circular depression. After a moment, he knew what should be placed there.
It's a terrible result.
Lin Moyu sighed inwardly. If his guess was correct, the circular depression should hold a crystal core. Not an ordinary monster's crystal core, but the yellow sand night demon's crystal core. Lin Moyu felt his judgment was almost certainly correct, which was the worst possible outcome for the current situation.
It seems that to enter the nether swamp, we must kill the yellow sand night demon. But with so many monsters here and the yellow sand night demon being so powerful, how can we kill it?
Lin Moyu fell into deep thought, constantly summarizing the information he had obtained. First, it was certain that the nether swamp could be entered, as someone had done so before. Therefore, the yellow sand night demon could definitely be killed, but the right method had to be found. If there were many people, they could rely on brute force to solve it. But now, with few people, if the method was wrong, it would be hopeless. Originally, Lin Moyu had an idea to sneak in if he found the passage. But now it seemed that this method was not feasible. Xiaoming Buddha was the strongest among the 4. If they wanted to kill the yellow sand night demon, he had to contribute. Of course, Lin Moyu could also use his life-saving trump card, which would almost certainly kill the yellow sand night demon. But Lin Moyu would not choose to do so, as the life-saving trump card was not worth using on it. After integrating all the information, Lin Moyu gradually had some clues. Previously, when the formation condensed the crystal core, the yellow sand night demon came to snatch it. At that time, the yellow sand night demon looked greedy, eager, and determined. After devouring the crystal core, it was very satisfied, willing to endure the formation's attack. It could be said that the crystal core had an enormous attraction for it.
Devouring the crystal core will trigger the formation's attack. In fact, all crystal cores are condensed by the formation, so devouring any crystal core will trigger the attack. It's just unclear whether, after the crystal core becomes a monster, killing the monster to obtain the crystal core and then letting the yellow sand night demon devour it will still trigger the formation's attack.
Lin Moyu felt he had found a way to deal with the yellow sand night demon. At this moment, Xiaoming Buddha's voice came to his ears.
Taoist Lin, Taoist Erosion's injuries have healed, we can continue.
Lin Moyu opened his eyes, his gaze sharp.
How many days have passed?
Xiaoming Buddha said softly.
It's been 4 days.
Lin Moyu nodded.
I think we don't need to continue.
Xiaoming Buddha was slightly taken aback.
Taoist Lin plans to give up?
His tone was neither happy nor sad, but there was a hint of displeasure. Lin Moyu shook his head.
It's not giving up, but I might have found a way to enter the nether swamp.
Xiaoming Buddha was shocked.
Really?
Lin Moyu nodded.
I had some discoveries before, and after these days of contemplation, I think it's correct. I have 2 pieces of news, one good and one bad. Which one does the little Buddha want to hear first?
Xiaoming Buddha chanted a Buddhist mantra.
Amitabha, please speak directly, Taoist Lin.
Seeing that he didn't choose, Lin Moyu was not surprised.
The bad news is that to enter the nether swamp, we must kill the yellow sand night demon.
Upon hearing this, everyone's faces changed. The yellow sand night demon was very difficult to kill, and it might require a great cost, which was indeed terrible news. Lin Moyu continued.
The good news is that I found a way to deal with the yellow sand night demon. Although it may not be certain, we can try.
Xiaoming Buddha asked urgently.
How to try?
Lin Moyu said.
I need crystal cores, the kind from the dog-headed fish-bodied monsters in the lake.
Xiaoming Buddha said softly.
No problem.
With that, he put away the death branch and leaped into the lake. The next second, the lake water exploded, and a monster was blasted into the sky. Xiaoming Buddha rushed out of the water, throwing out a string of Buddhist beads. The beads transformed into a large knife, accompanied by Buddhist chants, slashing down from the sky. The monster was instantly slain, and a round crystal core fell out. With a wave of his hand, Xiaoming Buddha sent the crystal core flying towards Lin Moyu. He seemed to think one crystal core was not enough and dived into the lake again. 1363, 1363. Chapter 1363. What I say you may not understand. Xiaoming Buddha displayed his formidable combat strength, making 7 entries and exits in the lake, killing 6 monsters in just over 5 minutes and obtaining 6 crystal cores. If it weren't for the appearance of the yellow sand night demon at the end, he could have killed even more. Xiaoming Buddha clashed with the yellow sand night demon once and used the force to return to the shore. The yellow sand night demon floated in the lake, letting out a piercing roar before finally sinking back into the water. At this moment, Xiaoming Buddha's breath was fluctuating. In those short 5 minutes, he had exerted all his strength and now looked somewhat exhausted. Lin Moyu glanced at him, feeling that Xiaoming Buddha had indeed used his full strength, but it wasn't to the point of desperation. Half of his current appearance was an act. A dignified minor deity, even if he fought desperately, couldn't possibly exhaust his strength in just 5 minutes. If you said fighting for a day or 2, that would be more believable.
Even if you're acting, you should act more convincingly.
Lin Moyu thought with some disdain. The Buddhist clan was really bad at acting. Their hypocrisy could be seen through at a glance, truly pathetic. Xiaoming Buddha regulated his breath and asked,
Is it enough?
Lin Moyu nodded.
It should be enough, let me try.
Saying this, he picked up a crystal core and threw it forcefully. The crystal core flew out like a meteor, instantly disappearing from sight. Xiaoming Buddha watched Lin Moyu's actions without saying a word. He didn't doubt Lin Moyu's intentions, just couldn't understand what Lin Moyu was doing. However, Lin Moyu clearly had no intention of explaining, and the scene fell into an eerie silence. The crystal core flew thousands of kilometers before falling into the lake, very close to the core area. The skeletal god warrior was already waiting there. As soon as the crystal core entered the water, it was caught and quickly headed towards the nearest formation. The skeletal god warrior rushed towards the formation at the fastest speed. Soon, the formation came into view, and at this moment, the water on one side began to surge as the yellow sand night demon approached. It seemed that the entire central lake was its territory, and no movement could escape its notice. The yellow sand night demon, like a cat smelling fish, rushed over at an astonishing speed. It was too fast, and the skeletal god warrior couldn't get close to the formation in time. At this moment, the skeletal god warrior used all its strength to throw the crystal core towards the formation. The yellow sand night demon immediately changed direction, completely ignoring the skeletal god warrior, focusing only on the crystal core. When Lin Moyu saw the yellow sand night demon rushing towards the crystal core, he knew his judgment was correct. The crystal core had an irresistible attraction to the yellow sand night demon, making it willing to pay any price. For some reason, the yellow sand night demon couldn't directly obtain the crystal core by eating those dog-headed fish-bodied monsters. It could only get it when the formation had just gathered it into a crystal core. Once the crystal core continued to form and became a monster, it was useless. But if the dog-headed fish-bodied monster was killed by someone else and turned back into a crystal core, it could devour it again. The next step was to test the next judgment. If successful, they would truly find a way to deal with the yellow sand night demon. The crystal core quickly sank, approaching the formation. When it was still 10,000 meters away from the formation, the yellow sand night demon finally arrived and swallowed the crystal core in one gulp. At this moment, the formation suddenly lit up, and a phantom whip lashed out, striking the yellow sand night demon hard, tearing its skin and flesh. The yellow sand night demon didn't care at all, looking satisfied, and quickly swam away, ignoring the skeletal god warrior. Seeing this, Lin Moyu felt a sense of relief and finally exhaled a long breath. Xiaoming Buddha immediately asked,
"How is it?"
His tone was urgent, as if entering the nether swamp was very important to him. The next moment, Xiaoming Buddha realized he might have lost his composure and asked again in a deep voice,
"Is it useful?"
Lin Moyu pretended not to notice his abnormality and nodded.
"It's useful, just as I thought."
Xiaoming Buddha asked.
"What's going on?"
Lin Moyu explained.
"When I entered the lake bottom before, I saw a formation. I had seen a similar formation in the human clan's records and could roughly judge its function."
Lin Moyu attributed all the information he obtained through the skeletal god warrior to the human clan's records. The human clan had a long heritage in the Great World, longer than the Buddhist and Sand clans. Saying he had seen a similar formation in the human clan's records was perfectly reasonable. Even if they didn't believe it, they couldn't verify it. Lin Moyu then briefly explained the crystal core and the whip. Xiaoming Buddha said,
"So, we just need to get enough crystal cores and then attract the yellow sand night demon near the formation. When the yellow sand night demon devours the crystal core, the formation will attack it. When it's heavily injured, we can kill it."
Lin Moyu nodded.
"That's right. If the human clan's records are correct, these formations are a set. In the center of the lake bottom, there should be another formation. That formation needs a crystal core to activate, and it should be the yellow sand night demon's crystal core."
Lin Moyu's words were half true and half false. At least in Xiaoming Buddha's ears, there was nothing wrong with them. The only problem now was that Lin Moyu's speculation that the formation in the center of the lake bottom needed the yellow sand night demon's crystal core to activate was not entirely certain. Lin Moyu was actually already certain but couldn't say it directly. Xiaoming Buddha pondered for a few moments.
"Taoist Lin, Taoist Black Sand, please hold off the yellow sand night demon for a moment. I want to see for myself."
He decided to see it with his own eyes. Otherwise, he couldn't be sure. Lin Moyu nodded.
"I have no problem. What about Taoist Black Sand?"
Black Sand God King also said in a low voice,
"I can do it."
The two of them jumped into the lake together, separated by 1,000 miles, waiting for the yellow sand night demon to come. Xiaoming Buddha's reaction was actually within Lin Moyu's calculations. When he mentioned the formation at the lake bottom, Xiaoming Buddha showed no surprise. But Black Sand God King and Erosion God King were somewhat shocked. This indicated that Xiaoming Buddha already knew about the formation but had never mentioned it. Whether he saw the formation at the bottom of another yellow sand lake or at the center of this lake, it showed he was hiding something. Perhaps he was hiding more than just this. Lin Moyu deeply suspected that Xiaoming Buddha had an unspeakable secret for wanting to enter the nether swamp so urgently. What exactly was in the nether swamp that was so important to him? The yellow sand night demon rushed over, and the two cooperated seamlessly to kite it again. With previous experience, their cooperation was now almost perfect. After attracting the yellow sand night demon's attention, Xiaoming Buddha also jumped into the lake, swimming rapidly towards the center. Nearly an hour later, Xiaoming Buddha returned, and Lin Moyu and Black Sand God King, reaching their limits, quickly left the lake and returned to the shore. Xiaoming Buddha's eyes showed a hint of excitement.
Taoist Lin was right. There is indeed a formation in the center area. I observed the core of the formation, and it indeed needs a crystal core to activate.
His words implied that the crystal core needed to activate the formation was none other than the yellow sand night demon's crystal core. This was the effect Lin Moyu wanted. Xiaoming Buddha, seeing the result of his speculation with his own eyes, was much more convincing than Lin Moyu saying it. Next, they began to discuss how to obtain enough crystal cores. 1364, 1364. Chapter 1364. The monk will do his best to kill it. The method to obtain the crystal core is very straightforward. Kill the dog-headed fish-bodied monsters. There is no other way. The main focus of Lin Moyu's discussion was on how to kill and how many to kill. In this regard, Lin Moyu had the most say, as he was the only one who had seen the power of the formation's whip and knew how much damage it could inflict on the yellow sand night demon. From his observations, the formation's whip was unavoidable, possessing a soul-locking ability. As long as the formation was activated and the whip formed, the yellow sand night demon would inevitably be attacked. The whip was powerful enough to break the yellow sand night demon's defenses, causing its skin to split open. It seemed quite powerful, but Lin Moyu also knew that it was only superficial damage. To truly harm the yellow sand night demon fundamentally with the whip, it would take tens of thousands of lashes. However, hunting tens of thousands of dog-headed fish-bodied monsters in the lake was unrealistic. These monsters were not weak ants. Each one was a 9th-rank god king. If Xiaoming Buddha went all out, killing a few in a short time would already be impressive, and then he would still have to deal with the yellow sand night demon that could appear at any moment. Although they had found a method, it seemed difficult to implement. Everyone's faces showed signs of difficulty. Lin Moyu glanced at everyone.
I think, although the formation can injure the yellow sand night demon, we cannot rely entirely on the formation. We should treat the formation as an auxiliary tool, using it to break the yellow sand night demon's defenses and disrupt its attack rhythm, creating opportunities for us to kill it.
Lin Moyu's words made everyone's eyes light up, realizing they had fallen into a thinking trap. Xiaoming Buddha immediately said loudly,
Taoist Lin is right. We should not rely entirely on the formation. The formation's whip is just an aid. We need to rely more on our own strength.
Lin Moyu continued,
I want to know if any of the God Kings have a trump card that can inflict fatal damage on the yellow sand night demon in a short time.
Lin Moyu considered the yellow sand night demon's defense and recovery abilities. From the previous encounters with the yellow sand night demon and the formation's attacks, it was clear that the yellow sand night demon's defense was extremely strong. To kill it, they first had to break its defense. Secondly, the yellow sand night demon's recovery ability was also astonishing. Continuous damage was ineffective. It needed to be killed in a short time. Everyone understood the meaning behind Lin Moyu's words. After a few seconds, the Erosion God King, who had been silent, spoke first.
I have a treasure that can suppress the yellow sand night demon's recovery ability. But this treasure itself has no offensive power and needs to be activated inside the yellow sand night demon's body.
Saying this, the Erosion God King took out a bead.
As long as this corrosion bead is inserted into the yellow sand night demon's body, it can suppress its recovery ability and weaken its defense.
The bead was black, with faint flowing light on its surface, emitting a decaying aura. Xiaoming Buddha glanced at the erosion god king.
If I'm not mistaken, the law contained in this treasure is one of the rarest in the earth and stone laws, the corrosion law.
The erosion god king grunted in acknowledgement. Lin Moyu thought of the information on earth and stone laws. Earth and stone laws belonged to the third tier of laws. These laws were heavy on defense and light on offense, with many branches. One of the branches was the corrosion law, which was very rare and almost no one practiced it. The corrosion law itself was not strong in attack but was very troublesome. The corrosion law had the ability to corrode and decay, combined with the recovery power of earth and stone laws. Once entangled, it was hard to get rid of, and it could ruin the physical body. Its troublesome nature surpassed many second-tier laws. Lin Moyu thought of the erosion god king's name. Erosion was both a name and a title, representing the law he specialized in. He realized that the erosion god king specialized in such a niche and insidious law. Xiaoming Buddha's voice interrupted Lin Moyu's thoughts.
The corrosion bead can indeed suppress the yellow sand night demon's recovery ability, but the yellow sand night demon also specializes in earth and stone laws, so the corrosion bead's effect will be greatly reduced. I also have a treasure here, which is strong in attack, slightly weaker than a minor deity. But it has an advantage: it is extremely sharp. As long as we can break the yellow sand night demon's defense, this treasure can cut its body apart.
Xiaoming Buddha took out his treasure, a pair of golden scissors. The scissors were filled with the laws of gold, one of the characteristics of which was sharpness. Then the black sand god king also took out his treasure, a sand timer-like object.
I can use it to trap the yellow sand night demon, preventing it from escaping, and in the sand timer, the damage it takes will be doubled.
The three of them took out their treasures and then looked at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu smiled slightly.
I have a spell that can unleash an attack surpassing the 9th rank of a god king, slightly weaker than a minor deity. The spell can only be used 3 times with my current ability.
The spell Lin Moyu mentioned was Naturally Corpse Explosion. Using the corpse of a 9th rank god king stone demon as material, it could unleash an attack surpassing the 9th rank of a god king, but still slightly weaker than a minor deity. None of their treasures or spells could inflict fatal damage on the yellow sand night demon, but they could significantly weaken it in a short time. Xiaoming Buddha chanted a Buddhist mantra.
Then the rest is up to me. As long as it is heavily injured, I will do my best to find a way to kill it.
Lin Moyu smiled slightly.
Then we will rely on you, little Buddha. Of course.
Xiaoming Buddha did not hesitate, as if killing the yellow sand night demon was his duty. Lin Moyu said,
Let's discuss how many crystal cores we need to obtain.
In fact, Lin Moyu had long anticipated that Xiaoming Buddha would go all out to kill the yellow sand night demon. Among the 4 of them, besides himself, the one who most wanted to enter the nether swamp was Xiaoming Buddha. Even if they couldn't provide any treasures, he would find a way to deal with the yellow sand night demon. So Lin Moyu didn't need to exert too much effort, just pretend to and then watch the show. The discussion quickly ended, and they decided to limit it to 1 hour. Whatever they could obtain in 1 hour would be enough. The yellow sand night demon wouldn't endlessly devour crystal cores. There was a limit. Killing too many might not be useful. Next, the 4 of them swapped roles. Lin Moyu and the erosion god king would first enter the lake to attract the yellow sand night demon's attention. Xiaoming Buddha and the black sand god king would then enter the lake from the other side to kill the dog-headed fish-bodied monsters and obtain crystal cores. Among the 4, the erosion god king was the weakest, only at the 9th rank of a god king, even weaker than Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu's displayed strength was slightly higher than the erosion god king's, but not as strong as a minor deity. So the task of attracting the yellow sand night demon fell to them, while Xiaoming Buddha and the black sand god king, being minor deities, could quickly obtain enough crystal cores. 1365 Chapter 1365 Coordinated Effort, Moving to Slay the Yaksha. The entire process went smoothly. Within an hour, Xiaoming Buddha and the black sand god king had hunted enough crystal cores. With the 2 of them being minor deities, As long as they weren't surrounded by the dog-headed fish-bodied monsters, there wouldn't be much danger. Among the minor deities, Xiao Ming Buddha's actions were more decisive and efficient, surpassing the Black Sand God King. Including the crystal cores previously obtained by Xiao Ming Buddha, the total number of crystal cores had reached 320, with each person allocated 80. After a period of rest and adjustment, the 4 of them had recovered to their peak state. Xiao Ming Buddha was the first to leap into the lake, followed by Lin Moyu and the Erosion God King, with the Black Sand God King bringing up the rear. The 4 of them held the Death Branch, driving away the monsters in the lake, and swam straight towards the nearest formation. The crystal cores were stored in their storage artifacts, emitting no aura. After swimming for a few minutes, the water ahead began to stir. Lin Moyu thought to himself,
It's coming!
The yellow sand yaksha sensed the life force of the 4 and charged towards them. Its target was Xiao Ming Buddha, who was swimming at the front, as his life force was the most vigorous among the 4. The water was split by an invisible force, and the yellow sand yaksha appeared in sight. It held a long spear and, from 100 kilometers away, thrust it towards Xiao Ming Buddha. The water surged, creating a horizontal vortex in the lake, with a sharp tip that seemed to want to tear Xiao Ming Buddha to pieces. Xiao Ming Buddha was well prepared, and the prayer beads in his hand suddenly lit up. This time, he did not throw the prayer beads. Instead, they emitted bursts of Buddhist light, enveloping him and forming a resilient light sphere. The surface of the light sphere was covered with flowing light, and the yellow sand in the water slid to the sides upon contact with the light sphere. It was as if an invisible force on the light sphere prevented the yellow sand from touching it. The vortex struck the light sphere head-on, causing it to emit a dazzling light. For a moment, the sound of Buddhist chants grew louder, and the vortex lost its aim, shooting off to the side. The light sphere only deformed slightly, showing no signs of strain. Xiao Ming Buddha then used the impact of the vortex to propel himself forward, moving faster than his usual speed in the lake. As he distanced himself, Xiao Ming Buddha flicked his fingers, sending a beam of Buddhist light towards the yellow sand yaksha. This seemingly harmless beam of Buddhist light made the yellow sand yaksha feel insulted. It let out a strange cry and chased after Xiao Ming Buddha. Lin Moyu and the other 2 followed closely behind, now safe as Xiao Ming Buddha had drawn the yellow sand yaksha's attention. Xiao Ming Buddha, shrouded in Buddhist light, repeatedly deflected the yellow sand yaksha's attacks. Each attack from the yellow sand yaksha became a force that accelerated Xiao Ming Buddha, allowing him to widen the gap. After several failed attacks, the yellow sand yaksha grew frustrated. Its attacks became fiercer but still had little effect. Lin Moyu watched Xiao Ming Buddha, shrouded in Buddhist light, and pondered how he would break through the Buddhist light if he were in the same situation. He felt that he might have to face Xiao Ming Buddha in combat. If he couldn't break through the Buddhist light, how could he fight? The Buddhist light had the characteristic of deflecting attacks, so he needed to counter this characteristic. After observing, he realized that the deflecting characteristic came from the flowing light on the surface. These flowing lights continuously deflected attacks to the sides. He thought of the undead law, specifically the power of death within it, which could counter and even corrode the flowing light. The power of death had the characteristic of corroding everything, whether it was laws or artifacts. After maintaining this for over 20 minutes, they finally entered the core area and approached the nearest formation. Everyone became alert, knowing the main event was about to begin. Xiao Ming Buddha reached the formation and decisively took out a crystal core. The moment the crystal core appeared, the yellow sand yaksha's eyes changed. Its eyes shifted from anger to greed, with a strong instinct rising from its soul. A single thought in its mind: to eat the crystal core. This seemed to be an instinct engraved in its soul, with no temptation able to resist it. The yellow sand yaksha immediately abandoned its pursuit of Xiao Ming Buddha and lunged at the crystal core, swallowing it in one gulp. The formation activated instantly, and a phantom whip formed, lashing heavily at the yellow sand yaksha. The yellow sand yaksha's skin split open, revealing a huge wound. However, it didn't care at all, instead showing an expression of enjoyment. Xiaoming Buddha glanced at Lin Moyu, seeing that the situation was exactly as Lin Moyu had described. This reassured him and gave him more confidence in the plan. Without hesitation, he took out a second crystal core. The yellow sand yaksha, still enjoying itself, was once again attracted by the crystal core's aura. It turned its big head and swallowed the crystal core. The formation activated, and the whip appeared again, lashing heavily at the yellow sand yaksha. The yellow sand yaksha still showed no reaction, looking even more satisfied than before. Xiaoming Buddha continued to take out crystal cores, one after another. The yellow sand yaksha, like a glutton, swallowed one crystal core after another. The formation continuously produced whips, lashing the yellow sand yaksha, tearing its skin and flesh. Its recovery ability was astonishing. By the time the 10th whip struck, the first wound had already begun to heal. However, the yellow sand yaksha's defense was so strong that the seemingly terrifying wounds were only superficial. By the time the 11th whip struck, the first wound had completely healed. This pattern continued, with the wounds on its body always numbering 10. No more, no less. The yellow sand yaksha's aura remained as strong as ever. Xiaoming Buddha showed a hint of anxiety but had no choice but to keep taking out crystal cores to maintain the situation. Seeing that Xiaoming Buddha's crystal cores were running out, Lin Moyu approached the formation and took out 5 crystal cores at once. The 5 crystal cores together emitted a deadly attraction. The yellow sand yaksha swallowed them all in one gulp, and a more powerful whip appeared, lashing fiercely at the yellow sand yaksha. The yellow sand yaksha let out a strange cry, seemingly in pain, but its expression was one of extreme enjoyment, creating a stark contrast. This attack caused more damage than any before with significant effect.
Just as I thought.
Lin Moyu thought to himself, confirming his hypothesis. He quickly took out more crystal cores for the yellow sand yaksha to devour. The more crystal cores it swallowed at once, the stronger the whip formed by the formation, and the greater the damage. However, there was a limit. 10 crystal cores were the maximum. Any more would be useless. The Black Sand God King and the Erosion God King followed suit, each taking out at least 10 crystal cores for the yellow sand yaksha to devour. The whips lashed repeatedly, and the yellow sand yaksha looked much worse than before, with no intact flesh on its body, and its aura began to weaken. Finally, when the last whip struck and the crystal cores were exhausted, Lin Moyu shouted,
Attack!
The first to act was the Erosion God King, who threw the corrosion bead at the yellow sand yaksha. The yellow sand yaksha, still enjoying the crystal cores, didn't notice the corrosion bead flying towards it. The corrosion bead silently entered the yellow sand yaksha's body and exploded. A layer of blackness quickly spread over the yellow sand yaksha, as if it had been rotting for millennia. Its body emitted a decaying aura, with its defense and recovery abilities drastically weakened. The speed of wound healing slowed significantly. Next, Xiaoming Buddha threw out his golden scissors. 1366 1366